Margaret Kisikaw Piyesis. I'm the okimâw for CAAN Communities, Alliances and Networks. CAAN is a community-based organization, so we are run by the membership and we are run by the community. So in our name, CAAN Communities, Alliances and Networks, we have partnerships with various institutions, systems, agencies across this land, but we also are governed by a group of our peers, and so people from the community and people that are living with experience from some of the diseases we're talking about today, HIV, viral hepatitis, being Indigenous in general. CAAN has always been part of an organization that is grounded in HIV since the beginning, and it's about over 25 years old, CAAN. So I'm an ancestral scientist, and that is the solution that we're looking for on this land as we begin to look at the multitude of other diseases that have been part of our communities and our nations and our families. So HIV is just one of them, and there's many other diseases that have come upon this land that have been inflicted upon our people and our nations. And so as we look for solutions that are grounded in our Indigenous ways of knowing and doing, it's important that we include our ancestral science in the solution. And this is so important. We can still work alongside the Western solutions, but the ancestral solutions have to come to life. And when I talk about ancestral solutions and ancestral science, I'm talking about some of our ways of knowing and doing, which include the medicines that we take, which aren't always something we inject, drink, or a pill. These are ceremonies, teachings, plant medicine, ways of knowing and doing that we take part in. And that's part of our healing in our journey of wellness. So that is our ancestral science. We say, and I've heard this said by many people that are living with HIV, is that HIV wasn't a problem in their life. When they came to a place of looking at their own wellness and healing, that HIV was just a symptom of many things that have happened in their lives, from being in residential school to being in care to some of their dealing with their intergenerational trauma or their traumas through addictions, through drugs or alcohol. So there's a lot of deep-rooted solutions that we're looking at, and we're saying that and hearing from the people who've lived experience that these diseases aren't the problem in their lives, but now they have to treat them. And they have to dig deep for why they became a problem to begin with. So we look at what has happened here in the prairies. There's a lot of racism. You know, we see what goes on in our hospitals and our institutions and systems. When people are looking for care, treatment, support, or testing, there's a lot of barriers and racism that occurs in those places, so they don't access. And so we're not seeing our people being treated in a fair way, in an equitable way in terms of seeking some help for what they are faced with. We don't see our ancestral science as part of the solution. So if we're only putting band-aids on people, you know, testing them and getting a positive result, and then not treating them with medication and medicines from our ancestral knowledge, then we're not doing anything. We're just keeping them alive. Maybe not. And we don't know how long. So we're looking for deep-rooted solutions that are grounded in our ancestral science so that we're able to bring those solutions to life, and we're able to look at the generations to come that won't occur in their families, right? So it's really looking at a long-term solution for what we're faced with today on this land, and not putting band-aids on our people.
What would, if you had a magic ball and you could say, here's kind of how we can prevent some of these things,
Oh,
what
goodness.
would you say to that?
Oh my. You know, there's so many intergenerational traumas that have been, you know, part of our communities for generations and generations since colonization happened here. Then you go into the residential schools. Then fast forward today to the correctional systems. Some of those institutions and systems that are in the land today still creating that genocide. And it could be a slow genocide, but sometimes it's a fast genocide. But they're still creating genocide on this land for the first peoples. And that is what we're seeing with HIV and viral hepatitis and some of the other diseases that are here today, like tuberculosis is back. So, you know, we're seeing this come again on this land to the first peoples, and the government not really providing solutions that are grounded in our Indigenous ways of knowing and doing. So they're just putting band-aids, and the problem keeps growing and growing and growing. So, you know, it's the same old thing as the early days of colonization. Genocide still happening, fast in the beginning when they first came to this land. the colonizers, and now it's a slow genocide, but it's still occurring. It's time to listen to the first peoples of this land and to support us in our own journeys of healing and wellness. It is grounded in our ancestral science, and our science is proven. Right now, Western science is just catching up to our science, and we don't have to be in a laboratory or in reports with the government to know that our science works. It has been working since beginning of time on this land. You know, and as we move forward to begin this journey of healing and wellness for the generations to come, it has to be grounded in our ways of knowing as the first peoples, not on the Western ways of knowing, because that knowledge is not doing a bit of good to the people. As we know, the statistics in this province and in the prairies are rising steadily for the last 10 years. It's hard to talk about the abuses that have occurred in our families, in our nations, in our communities. We have become the abusers, and so it's hard to talk about. And we don't see a lot of our people talking about that in our families. And those conversations have to happen. If we're going to look for the future generation, the health and wellness of our young people and the ones to come, we have to start talking about these abuses and what has occurred in our nations and our communities, because it's no longer the churches doing it, we're doing it to ourselves. So we talk about at CAAN, we have a visioning called Wapawin Akin, which is seeing collectively. So we see that there's a lot of lateral violence in our communities still, and we're inflicting it on ourselves. They've taught us very well how to be violent to one another. And so as we move forward, these have to come out as stories. We're going to have to talk about it, and we're going to have to heal from these things, because if we don't, things are going to get worse in our communities. And we see that already. We see some tragic events happening across this land in some of our First Nation communities, in some of our urban settings. So it's time now for us to talk. And as matriarchs of families and of organizations and of communities, it's up to us to take that in hand and start talking about it and look for the wellness and the healing through our ancestral ways, not through the colonial systems. We're not saying put people in jail. We're saying let's work with them to find out where they're at, because they carry intergenerational trauma, and trauma that really is triggered by what has happened to them here in society. When we aren't being treated in a good way, when we are triggered by racism that occurs daily in these cities and in our communities, then we are also looking at what happens, the fallout from that, which could be violence. And that's what kind of some of the stories that we see across the land too, which is sad. And I feel that as matriarchs that we're able to bring that and talk about that, because we're good with life. We're the caregivers and caretakers of life. We bring life into this world. And I'm just going to say off camera that I always used to tell my son, I brought you into this world, I'll take you out, when he doesn't listen. But, you know, I think that it's important as women that we need to be strong. This land was once a land of matriarchs. And when the colonizers came here, they turned that around. And even some of our own men are still patriarchs. And so, you know, as we move forward, we're raising generations that are going to know the ceremonies, know the teachings, know how to treat the women and the families. They're going to move forward in their lives with our rites of passage ceremonies. You know, these are some of the solutions that we're talking about in moving forward in our communities and our families, and bringing up our children in a good way so that they know the good life, and that they can not have be abused or use alcohol or drugs or have any traumas that they carry, and also to heal from our own intergenerational traumas. So as matriarchs, we are steadily healing from our own intergenerational trauma, because we picked that up from our ancestors. It's passed down. If no one deals with it, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And so as we begin to heal from those traumas, then our children won't have them, our grandchildren won't have them, and etc. And we're beginning to raise our families in good ways, so that our young boys grow up to be young men, to grow up to be men, to be, you know, grandmothers and grandfathers and fathers, and ones that'll take care of their family, because they are the hunters and the hunters and the gatherers for our family. They sustain us today. If we fast forward today to our ways, they're the ones that would take care of us and protect us. And that's what we want once more on this land, is for our men to come join back into the circle and be our protectors and our providers. And us as women being the ones that are caregivers of life and take care of that. in all areas. So it's a nice, it sounds like a fairy tale or so, but it's not. It's our way. That's the way it was on this land before, once upon a time, and it has to happen again. For us to be well and to move into recovery, we have to bring everybody into the circle and to work with them and talk with them and teach with them and to heal with them, because that's where we'll see our wellness. That mio panasawan that we all ask for in ceremony, that good life, that's what we ask for, and that's when that will happen. So I hope to see that in my generation, in my time of life, I hope to see my great-grandchildren, and that it'll be a better day for them on this land, because we will have instilled those teachings and those knowings and those ceremonies back into their lives. They will have degrees from the universe, which are sun dancing and lodging and teachings and rites of passage. All those are degrees from the universe, from our ancestors. But they'll also have degrees from the universities, and they'll be able to walk in the white man's world, but they'll also be walking in our world, our ancestral world. So I think that's the best that you see, and you see that in this province in Manitoba, when they had a premier that's from the first peoples of this land. He's a pipe carrier, sun dancer. You see him doing some work here that's good, that needs to be done. The rest of the world needs to see how the first peoples of this land called Canada do their ancestral science, because that's where the solutions are grounded in our Indigenous ways. So I see that, and I hope to see more of it as we move along. I'm always happy to have gatherings where we can talk in regards to those solutions, what the real life solutions are, because those solutions aren't grounded in Western science. They're not, and we need to bring our own science to life as ancestral. So I want to acknowledge that today is a special day for people who are living with HIV, but also people that have passed on into the spirit world of living with HIV, or maybe they died of AIDS in the early days of the virus. But today is a special day across the land. It's Indigenous AIDS Awareness Day and World AIDS Day. So across Mother Earth, people are remembering those that have passed on, but they're also remembering those that are currently living with HIV or some of the other diseases. But today's primarily World AIDS Day. So it's a good day to remember those that we've loved that have gone on. And I didn't want to say lost, because to us, we don't call them as lost relatives, that we know where they are, and they're just gone home. They've done their work here on this earth, and they're gone home. So it's a hard one to say and comprehend. But 3 years ago, I lost one of my brothers, and he had lived with HIV and hepatitis C. But I tell the world that he didn't die of HIV. He died of a broken heart, and his heart was broken because of the opportunities not given to him to be tested, cared, treated, all of that through the current institutions, systems, and agencies, and that we didn't have the ability to talk to him about ancestral science. That wasn't strong in our family at that point. But he died of a broken heart. But he left us with a legacy that we will continue to work. And if love could have saved him, he would be alive today. Because I'm leading in the HIV. I'm an HIV leader in the land called Canada. I have a brother who's a leader in addictions and where we live. And he lived with addictions, and he lived with HIV. And if love could have saved him, he would have been alive today. But we talk about our own creation stories as Cree people, and that was his journey, and that's what his commitment he made with Kisi Manito, and that's how he would live his life. And I would be left here to tell his story and say that he had a broken heart, but he didn't die of HIV. He didn't die of viral hepatitis, but he died of other things. And those are the things that we need to address today and talk about.